Creating product images with AI is easier than ever. But keeping small branding details perfectly readable is not. Small text often gets distorted, slightly redesigned, or even misspelled. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to structure your prompts so typography stays accurate from the very beginning. Not something you fix later, but something you control from the start. Let's begin inside the image generator. For this example, we're working with a running shoe that contains multiple small branding elements, including technical text on the heel and midsole. This makes it a perfect case study because the typography is subtle, precise, and easy to distort if the prompt isn't structured correctly. In the model selector, choose Google Nano Banana Pro. We're using this model because it handles fine product details and small typography more reliably than most when working with realistic product photography. Next, upload high-quality studio references of your product. Ideally, you want multiple angles, clean lighting, and sharp detail. Good references are critical, because if the source images are weak, typography accuracy becomes much harder to control. Now, before writing the prompt, here's the key idea. The goal is not to create a complicated prompt. The goal is to create a structured prompt. What really matters is the order and priority of information. We start with composition. Define the visual structure first before describing the product. For example, an editorial still life with diagonal placement and controlled directional lighting. If you don't anchor the composition first, the model prioritizes the object itself and the overall aesthetic can become unstable. Next comes exact product identity. You explicitly state that the product must match the provided references exactly, including proportions, silhouette, stitching, panel geometry, sole curvature, and overall construction. This prevents redesign drift and keeps the model from reinterpreting the design. After that, create a dedicated typography block. This is one of the most important parts. You clearly list the exact words that must appear, specify where they appear, describe their alignment and orientation, and explicitly state that there should be no misspellings, no extra letters, and no warped glyphs. Typography should not be casually mentioned inside the general product description. It needs to be treated as a priority anchor. Then preserve true color accuracy. Instead of saying blue shoe, use specific color naming such as deep cobalt blue upper, neon lime laces, off-white midsole, and mint heel lining. Specific language reduces unwanted reinterpretation and keeps the brand identity intact. After that, define lighting and harmony. Describe light direction and tonal balance so the environment supports the product instead of competing with it. Next, add optical control. For example, shallow depth of field, tack-sharp focus on the shoe and its typography, refined tonal balance, and no oversaturation. This ensures the final image feels premium and controlled rather than over-processed. Finally, include clear negative constraints. You explicitly state that there should be no extra logos, no duplicated text, no invented branding, and no distorted lettering. Models tend to improvise, so you need to block that behavior directly. This reduces correction cycles and protects brand integrity. This is the structure we applied to both still life compositions you're about to see. That's the formula. Composition first, exact identity, typography control, true color, lighting harmony, optical clarity, negative constraints. It's not about writing more, it's about writing in the right order. Now let's look at the results. Here's the first still life, a sandstone editorial setup with warm highlights and controlled shadows. If we zoom into the heel and midsole, the small text remains sharp, correctly aligned, and fully readable. There are no spelling errors, no deformation, and no drift from the real product. Now here's a second composition. This time a terracotta environment with warmer tones and a completely different sculptural structure. Different materials, different color balance, same structured formula. Again, the typography remains perfectly intact. To test the structure further, we even simplified the prompt while keeping the same hierarchy. The wording became shorter, but the logic stayed the same, and the result remained consistent. That's the key. It's not the length of the prompt, it's the order and priority of information. Now let's push this further. If the structure is solid, typography shouldn't collapse when we introduce motion. Open the video generator and select Kling 3.0 Omni. This version allows us to reinforce identity using multiple image references throughout the video. In this case, Instead of using a start image, we upload the same clean white studio references we used earlier in the image generator when creating the still images. These references remain active during generation and help preserve proportions, materials, and typography consistently across frames. Our prompt remains structured and minimal. We describe the scene, the camera movement, and keep the product identity consistent without redefining typography or altering branding. In this example, a model walks in, picks up the shoe from the still life setup, and brings it closer to the camera. As the camera moves and perspective shifts, the lettering remains readable and stable across frames. Even in close-up, the text does not degrade because the identity anchors were defined from the start and reinforced continuously by the references. Perfect typography is not an accident, it's a result of structure and reinforcement. When the prompt hierarchy is clear, iteration becomes shorter, corrections become minimal, and brand consistency becomes predictable. That's how you achieve perfect product typography from the start.